To the President, Barack Hussein Obama, and to Eric the honky-hating, Fast and Furious Holder, and to Moochell, for the first time in my adult life, I'm proud of my country, Obama, and to every other progressive, liberal, socialist, communist, Marxist, Muslim, occupier, and Jewish Democrat in the United States, my name is Grady Warren, and I'm here on behalf of the 200 million men, women, and young people, legal American citizens and voters that are not Latino, not Hispanic, not Black, not African, and not Muslim. We are the National Association for the Advancement of White Americans, a for-profit corporation super PAC dedicated to the re-education of American voters on the teachings of conservative values and principles. Brock, we are the group that's going to kick your ass out of our White House. Brock, recently you made the most racist move in American history by a president when you announced the African Black Americans for Obama campaign and that you would not be targeting white working class voters in this election. Now, we knew you, Eric, and Michelle hated honkies, Bible thumpers, gun toters, crackers, Southerners, homophobes, Islamophobes, and misogynists like me, but you just crossed the line. Here's a little history lesson for you, Barry, and your supporters with just one quote from Democratic hero President Lyndon Baines Johnson just before he signed the 1965 Voting Rights Bill, and I quote, "I'll have those niggers voting Democrat for the next 200 years," end quote. Well, some 50 years later, that prediction is still on track, and that's sad to me. You folks deserve better than that. Yet you still trust the Democrats as they use you, lie to you, and keep you down with promises of racial justice, racial diversity, racial reconciliation, post-racial fairness, fair shares, and slave reparations, while they steal trillions of taxes from the American workers and businesses to pay for proven failure and fraud with programs like Section 8 housing, the war on poverty, food stamps, job training programs with no jobs, the war on drugs, the war on racism, to the war on family. Ladies, gentlemen, Brock, his czars, and his unions are using Black Americans, Hispanics, occupiers, government-educated whites, and union members to create major divisions in America with class warfare, union versus non-union, racial inequality, and rich versus poor. Please, don't fall for it. Brock, let me be perfectly clear. Conservative Americans will not fight in another war between the states. You see, it wasn't that long ago our ancestors fought for the black man and the black woman against the Northerners in the not-so-Civil War, where almost 1 million men, women, and children, our relatives, were killed or wounded on both sides. We will never again fight for the black man or the black woman, or fight against them. Our fight is with you, the socialists, the progressives, the career politicians, Republicans and Democrats, the ruling parties, the liars, the criminals putting party, money, influence, power, and ideology before the American people, while they refuse an honest conversation about energy independence, border security, the federal deficit, illegal aliens, Muslims, crime, the fair tax, race, or the intrusion of government into our businesses and our lives. Brock, the outcome of this election is some simple math. The following groups are your voters. You have 95% of the blacks, 90% of the media, 100% of the entitlement society, 100% of the Muslims, 80% of the Latinos, 65% of the unions, 80% of the government-educated youth, 80% of the gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and transgenders. You've got Hollywood, the trial attorneys, the animal and global warming zealots, most of the drug addicts, the occupiers, the illegal aliens, the single-by-choice moms, the atheists, and finally, Brock, you have Muhammad or Allah on your side. Well, on behalf of our veterans, Allahu Snack Bar. Now let's see who's on our side. First, we have God on our side. We have 65% of the Catholics. We have 100% of the Tea Party. We have 35% of the Jews. We have Fox News and Rush Limbaugh. We have 65% of the Christians. But we have 75% of the Cuban Americans, the Italians, the Germans, the Scottish, the Irish, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, the Swedish, the English, the Indian, the Russian, the Lebanese, the Filipinos, the Puerto Ricans, the Polish, the Canadian, and the Albanian Americans. And we have 35% of the union membership, 20% of the GLBT community that put America before their culture. We also have 80% of the active military and veterans, and we have the law enforcement community that swore an oath to serve and protect this great nation. And we have 80 million gun owners on top of that. So you see, Barack, altogether that gives us almost 200 million conservative Americans. So the simple math is, you have 110 million big government, entitlement and union, socialist supporters and voters, and we have 200 million conservatives that want you out, and we will never bow down to you. For we are more than sick and tired of you, the socialist, the progressive plan for America, and we're not going to accept it or pay for it any longer. For 50 years plus, the Democrats have implemented failed policies that benefit only certain minorities, unions, and the foreign nations of just a few, while destroying our way of life, our wealth, and our futures. And now you have the Supreme Court willing to follow you in the destruction of our Constitution with the largest tax increase in world history. As a German Scottish American, I am just one of hundreds of immigrant minority families that make up these United States. And I dearly love this country, the greatest union, nation, and melting pot in the world. But the pot is showing some pretty big holes thanks to the Democrats that only the conservatives can fix now. For we have been very tolerant and quiet regarding our cultural and political differences. And we have coexisted peacefully, even with forced integration. But now we've reached a tipping point when the president and a small percentage of the population is responsible for the moral degradation and financial ruination of America. The crime, the drugs, the violence, chaos, and fraud in America, and we're told by the media we must accept this behavior, which is anti-white, anti-Christian, and anti-American, like the flash mob and rob culture, the thug and gangsta culture, the entitlement culture, the honky-hating culture, the illegal alien culture, the hip-hop culture, the baby daddy culture, the baby mama by choice culture, the no snitching culture, the work in the system culture, the union culture of me first, the voter fraud culture, the rioting culture, the shoplifting culture, the looting culture of stealing tennis shoes and televisions in the middle of a hurricane, the destruction of family culture, the ebonics culture, the street culture, to the lowering of standards in schools and the workplace culture, to the lowering of standards in sports and entertainment culture, the racism culture of black liberation theology, the lack of individual responsibility culture, the occupier culture of take down the successful, to the destruction of human morality and dignity culture, but not the American culture. Ladies, gentlemen, young people, as we approach the most important vote in United States history on November the 6th, 2012, we must all take a hard look in the mirror and decide, do I love my country more than I love my culture? For our nation will become pure evil if Barack Hussein Obama gets back in. He will turn us into a socialist nation. Barack, if somehow, some way my fellow Americans put you back in, I and millions of conservatives will vote with our feet. It will be white flight on steroids. We will leave the democratically run cities and states across this nation. The wealthy among us will close our businesses, take our wealth, and move to other welcoming nations that want our money, our minds, and our morals. The others, we will move to states that believe in states' rights, and we'll give our houses back to the banks, Freddie and Fannie, and to Wall Street. Then quietly and peacefully, we will migrate to states that believe in states' rights. and we will politely ask you and the federal government not to come looking for us as we start over. Brock, I believe you are an evil son of a bitch, and you are hell-bent on paying back the white man for the colonization of Africa and the slavery in Europe and the United States of America. So just one more history lesson. I and people that look like me have not owned any slaves, so we won't be paying for any more reparations. For the last 50 years, the federal government has provided hundreds of social programs to help blacks, costing taxpayers trillions in reparations for slavery. That debt is officially settled. If you want to talk about reparations, you need to talk to the American Indians. Everyone else, I invite you, please learn all you can about Barack Hussein Obama and vote him out. Know the facts and learn the differences between the socialist, progressive movement and the conservative movement. As conservatives, we believe first in Americans, then others around the world. We want more money in everybody's pocket. We want more jobs for everyone. We want the fair tax and other reforms. We want to rebuild all the minority neighborhoods and cities. We'll build roads and bridges across this great nation, putting millions to work. We will drill for our own oil, coal, natural gas, and every other source of energy we have on American soil and in our oceans. We want every individual American to succeed and to live in peace as we help everyone who truly needs help. And we want our individual freedoms. So please vote Republican as we work toward a conservative third party in 2016. So on behalf of the conservative men, women, and young people in America, saying hell no to you, Barack Hussein Obama, hell no to your socialism, and hell no to your progressivism. From our cold, dead hands.